2014, Bob Clark was selling scaleless head ball pythons for about $45,000 a piece, and one season later, 2015, the exact same animals were only going for about $3,000. On the flip side, you can look at Red Stripe, which on its own is a fairly unimpressive morph, but due to the work that Justin Kabolka did with the clown combos in Red Stripe, specifically the Pompeii, once they released and people saw how amazing the potential of Red Stripe was, they were sold out everywhere and the prices continued to rise. So when you are a new breeder or just somebody who's like trying to find a new project, knowing if the project is going to crash or rise is often something that people consider. But what similarities do ball python projects that have crashed have in common, and what similarities do ball python projects that have gone on the rise have in common? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Ball pythons are notorious, infamous, famous for having these like incredibly high price tags, specifically for new morphs, so much so that it has attracted thousands of people into the hobby, and thousands of people have gotten out of the hobby because there wasn't the financial return that they expected when they initially got in. The reason for these really high price tags really stems from a supply and demand issue. And that is when you have a new ball python morph. So this right here, this is design, she is just a single gene mahogany. But let's say we were the very first person to find mahogany, and we think that she looks really cool, we breed her to another animal, and maybe we get an 8-egg clutch and 4 of them are mahoganies. Now, for sure, guaranteed that we know in the entire world in this situation, there are 5 mahogany animals, period. That's it, that's all that exists. Super low supply. And through marketing, whether it's on YouTube or Instagram or anything like this, maybe shows, showing the new morph to different people may increase the demand. Other people are like, oh, that looks really cool. I don't have any snake that looks like that. Can I get into it? But often when you are starting a new project, the people who are initiating it want to hold on to the project for a while and not release it so that way they can explore it on their own. And I think that this is where a huge part of the massive price tags come in, because the people who have all of the supply don't want to sell them. So the people who want it, the demand for it, they will say, well, would you take $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000? And for the most part, pretty much everyone has a price that they would be willing to sell something for. So let's say that the very first in this situation, again, fictional, like we find mahogany today. We get it, we breed it out, and we find it's genetic, and somebody offers us $20,000. So, and we accept it. We sell them the very first captive bred mahogany in this situation, and because of this, now the price has been set at $20,000 for this animal. When that person goes to sell it, they don't want to sell it for $5,000 when they spent $20,000 on it, so the price is probably going to remain right around $20,000. The price only starts to fall when there is no longer a demand to buy it at that price. So as more people get the project, there is technically less demand for it. So there's less potential market for it. But what happens is as more people get it and there's less people willing to spend $20,000 for it, there might be another tier of people who are willing to spend $15,000. So naturally, once people realize that they can't really sell their animal for $20,000 anymore, they bring it down to $15,000 or in some place in between, and somebody else buys it then. And that kind of reestablishes the new baseline, and it continues on for that for a while until everybody who bought the animal at $15,000 has already got their animals and they don't need to buy a new one or anything like this, and then the price keeps going down and down and down for the most part. So when it comes to specifically the Scaleless project, one of the reasons why it was such a drastic and fast decrease in price is because when Bob Clark was originally getting it, he bought scaleless head animals after BHB had produced the fully scaleless ball python. And it wasn't until after the first scaleless ball python had been produced did they find that there were some difficulties with the specific combo. Different husbandry, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't keep a scaleless animal, but specifically, and I think that this is the reason why that the project crashed so fast, is people realized that they couldn't breed a fully scaleless female, that this fully scaleless female didn't lay eggs. And it's not necessarily that we know if it's a fertility issue or if they just don't grow big enough to actually like safely bear eggs and get gravid and all that stuff, but in the 10-ish years that the project's been around, nobody's ever shown a fully scaleless female on her own clutch of eggs. And I think that as people realized that there was a huge difficulty in the project, almost like a dead end once you were working it, it decreased the demand for it. But the problem is that a lot of people had bought in early. They had bought in at the $40,000, the $30,000, the $20,000 mark, and they had invested a ton of their life savings into these animals. And now they needed to sell them. They needed to get some kind of return. So they very quickly, very drastically were cutting prices so that way they could try to get some recoupment of their investment back, almost in like a panic. And I think that this is the biggest reason why the Scaleless project went from $40,000 to, if you were to go find a Scaleless head male like today in 2022, I would be surprised if you find them for over $300 if it's just a single gene Scaleless head male. Now, I don't think that this has to happen for every single morph, and honestly, most morphs, this doesn't happen. Even if the price does come down over time, like you can look at Sunset, for example. Sunset started out, very first Sunsets that were sold were like $60,000, and now if you are going to buy a single gene Sunset, you're looking between $5,000 and $6,000. So it also is about 1/10 of the price that it initially was, but it's come down much, much slower, and it's given people a chance to get into the project and recoup their initial investment and then make a profit. And just because a price comes down doesn't mean that it's a bad project. In fact, I think that as prices come down, for the most part, it's really healthy for a project because it gives more people an opportunity to work it and find cool combos that may subsequently drive up the demand. And I think that this part right here is exactly what happened with Red Stripe. So for Red Stripe, it was around for a while. People got the project, they worked it a little bit, but on its own, it's just not super stunning. We love Red Stripe, we have one ourselves, and we're working the project. But if it hadn't been for the Pompeii combos, we probably would have ignored it. And this doesn't mean that every single gene that is out there that isn't actively being worked and is popular has some combo that's going to blow people's minds, but it's a chance, there's a potential for it. And it's the work that Justin Kabolka did, specifically with the Pompeii, that showed the potential of Red Stripe. And when he showed that there was these amazing combos that you could not get with any other morph, people wanted it, and it increased the demand. And even though it had been around for a while, and it may be, I don't know exactly what the price was at the time, but in this scenario, let's say it was around $300. But Justin releases the Pompeii, and now all of them are sold out, and the people who have Red Stripe know that there's a huge demand, so instead of listing them for $300, they list them for $500, or $600, or $700, or anything like that, and it slowly drives the price back up. You probably are never going to have it get back to the point of where it was at the beginning of a project. You're probably never going to get a single gene Red Stripe back up to $20,000, but it is possible to buy into a project at a lower price than what you end up selling the babies for when you have them. And I think that there's a couple similarities with those projects on how you can kind of anticipate it. I think Desert Ghost is another example. About 3 to 4 years ago, you could buy a Desert Ghost female for about $400, $500. Now a single gene visual Desert Ghost female is about $1,000. So the prices have risen with the demand for them. To talk about why a project will fall, like why it can crash and all that stuff. Generally, I think crashes, like actual crashes, like the Scaleless project, only come with really, really new projects. And by really new, I mean it hasn't been fully explored yet to see if it is recessive, incomplete, dominant, if there's any genetic issues with various different combos. And I actually think it's that last reason right there. If there are potential genetic or breeding issues with the morph, that will contribute a crash. And what often happens for it, or not often happens, but the similarity for it is that, and this has happened for Scaleless and for Desert, is that people buy into the project for a lot of money before they have all the information about it, before they know if there is a viable superform, or if there is a viable superform, is the viable superform able to breed on its own? So whether it's male or female or anything like this, if there's any potential genetic issues with it. So if you are buying into a brand new project, like maybe just the person has just released the very first clutch for it, it might be a really, really good move financial wise, but you are assuming the risk that there will be some combo out there that will just crush the project, kill all the momentum behind it, and you may risk losing the huge investment that you make up front. So I think that if you are planning on getting into like a brand new project, and I don't mean like a dinker project, but I mean like spending $10, $15, $20,000 on an animal that nobody else has, I think it's really important to know, is there a super form? If there is a super form, do both the males and the females reproduce? And if they do reproduce, are there any potential genetic issues that are common to it? For example, is it maybe, are all the animals perfectly fine but there's a little bit of a wobble? Or is it that 1 in every 3 animals that carry the gene is so badly kinked that they have to be euthanized? If you are able to check all the boxes that the morph is all the way healthy, there is super forms or a recessive or it's dominant, and pretty much there's no genetic health issues with it and no breeding issues with it, for the most part, I don't think that the project is going to have a crash like the Scaleless project did or the Desert project. Now, that said, that doesn't mean that there is going to immediately be a huge demand for it, and that it is possible to have, let's say, in this scenario we were talking about earlier, we discover the mahogany morph and we sell it to one person for $20,000 and nobody else wants to buy it. Everybody else is like, that was dumb. You should not have bought that animal for it, and the most anybody can sell mahogany after that is $300. Even though there wasn't a genetic problem with it, the fact that there just wasn't the actual support and demand from the marketplace for that animal can lead to a crash. That said, again, I don't think it's super common. I think that for the most part, if you find a morph that is visually stunning and beautiful, somebody else is going to think it's visually stunning and beautiful too. And if it's brand new in the ball python hobby, people are often willing to spend a large amount of money to risk the investment because of the huge potential return on it. Because, let's say, if we were the very first people to discover mahogany, we sold mahogany for $20,000 in this example, that person has mahoganies, other people really, really want them, now they can sell them for $20,000 a piece, or both of us can, or maybe we go down to 18 or anything like that. So there is a chance for a huge financial return, and that's why people take the risk. But I think that waiting just long enough to see if the originator of a project has found if there's a super form, if the males and females can breed, males and females can breed successfully, and there are no apparent genetic abnormalities with the morph, I think that if you can check all of those boxes as good, overall the project will probably be pretty safe. Then it comes down to marketing. And are there cool combos with it? How does it look? So I think in this situation, you want to look at what are the established projects in the marketplace. And I think that the two biggest ones are Clown and Pied. So if you are having a brand new project, let's say it's a dinker project that you've proven out to be genetic, I think that it's really critical to see what does the project look like with Clown and with Pied. And if it looks really cool in one of those, there's a pretty good chance that there is going to be a high demand for the project. And if it doesn't look really cool in either one of those, that doesn't mean that there's not going to be some combo out there at some point that wows everybody, like a red stripe, for example, but it's going to take a little bit more time to generate the huge demand for it that garners like the massive, massive prices like Stranger does, because the Stranger clowns look so freaking cool. Now, beyond all of the like actual financial stuff like that on the if supply and demand causes something to go up or go down, I think that there are a few different characteristics of current projects, not dinker projects, that are poised for potential rises. Not like Skyrocket to the moon rises, but things that were similar to Red Stripe. And I think that probably the most talked about one of all of these is the lace project. We don't have any lace right now. We want to get into it, but we don't have it, so it's not like we're like trying to sell lace to people. In fact, if this video did really, really well and a bunch of people bought lace, it's probably going to make us pay more for lace whenever it's time for us to buy into the project. Now, the reason why I think that lace specifically is poised for a potential rise is, one, the lace itself, the gene, is an enhancer gene, which when we think about projects, we try to look at like foundation genes, and this would be like Clown, Pied, Sunset, Ultramel, genes that have such a drastic appearance on the animal that they can serve as the entire foundation for a project because all of the animals will share a similar appearance. And then you have enhancer genes, which are like Pastel, Fire, Desert Ghost, and Lace in this example, and General Yellow Belly would be another one. They improve the appearance of other combos. This doesn't mean that they don't have some wild combos on their own, like the Freeway Project or the Highway Project, but the enhancer genes make other genes look good, so they find most of their value in combos, and Lace is like this. So Lace brightens up the light areas of a snake, the yellows and whatnot. But this is what I think makes a really good enhancer gene. It leaves the darks really, really crisp, just like Desert Ghost. So this lets you maintain that strong contrast on high pattern animals. In addition to the brightening the yellows and darkening the blacks, it has a pattern disruption feature, which is actually where it gets its name, and it brings up this like white speckling along the belly, the lower side of the animal. They look really, really cool, and the white lace supercharges it. And I think that right there, the white lace, is actually why this project has a lot of potential in it. So let's say we were going to look at Desert Ghost. So Desert Ghost, which is a recessive gene, it's an enhancer gene, probably right now the best enhancer gene that's out there, because it just makes animals look amazing as babies and adults. Now, Desert Ghost is a really, really strong, but the problem with Desert Ghost is that it's recessive, and because it's recessive, you need the homozygous form of Desert Ghost to have any visual impact on the animal. So if you want to have, let's say, a Mahogany, Clown, Desert Ghost, you need a double recessive project to hit that, which the odds of double recessive projects are really, really long. At the end of the video, I think by the time we release this video, we'll have done this whole one on the odds of double recessive projects. We'll do it at the very end. Our end screen will be that video. So if you want to check it out after this one. But anyways, the odds of double recessive projects are super long and super hard, which maintains their value, but makes it incredibly hard to hit new combos in them. I believe that Lace, the power of Lace, is that you can have one copy of Lace, so you could have a Lace Clown, and have a visual impact. You can also have a white lace, the super form, the homozygous form of lace is called white lace. A white lace clown, and it looks even better than before. It looks different. So you have two entirely different new directions for any project that you currently have. And since they're enhancer genes, it's just making your other combos look better. It's making your brights brighter. It's making your darks blacker. It's keeping that contrast, and it's bringing up some of that cool lace pattern at the bottom to completely change how the combos look overall. And I think that is one of the reasons why Lace is going to rise. The other thing on Lace is that it's been around for a bit, and the prices are not super crazy. Like I would say for a single gene Lace, a male, female, I don't really know exactly, but you're looking about $200, $300 right now. Nothing crazy about the price of a Mahogany. But there are just now starting to get some Lace Clown combos that are blowing people's minds. They look so freaking cool, and I think that it's these combos that are going to push the project forward in the future, and they're going to make the rises happen. Now, when you are looking at a project like Lace, another thing that you want to look at is not just simply what does the gene do on its own, but how much support is it getting from it. And realistically speaking, if you look at any of the major ball python breeders, whether this is Canova, Always Evolving Pythons, Bob Vu, anybody like this, I guarantee you will see that they have lace pairings. And it's not necessarily that they have lace animals that they're trying to sell. They are investing in lace, and they are buying lace animals because they're trying to make those combos coming up. And I think that's really, really telling that the major players in the project are already investing in it. And once those major players in the project, or major players in the ball python community, start making amazing combos in the project, there's going to be way more likelihood that there's going to be some combo that comes out that wows everyone. Oh, she struck at me. Rude. Anyways, so because of this, I think that Lace is poised to rise. I don't necessarily know, but if I would imagine that this time next year, 2023, maybe not this time, summer of 2023, I think that Lace is probably going to be one of the hottest projects out there, very, very similar to how Desert Ghost is right now. Now, I think there are plenty of projects like this, but Lace is the one that I'm personally interested in the most, so that's what I've kind of been watching. But looking for projects that pair well with current combos and big projects that are already available. In addition, looking for projects that don't have any genetic abnormalities and they have enough support from the industry right now that you can anticipate that there's going to be some really, really cool combos coming out. I think that that is key in developing out a ball python project that is poised to rise while avoiding the ones that are going to crash. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and we will see you next week.